It's just days before Christmas, and Hilda Sarkisian is out shopping, getting ready to host dozens of guests at her Southern California home.
So you gotta be organized.
But it's not a holiday party the family is throwing. They are preparing for a memorial service that will mark the second anniversary of their daughter's death.
Everybody's getting ready for Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and here I am shopping for her memorial. It really bothers me so much.
Nataline Sarkisian died at 17 after a 3-year battle with leukemia. Her family's grief is compounded by a large dose of anger.
Why did you deny a couple of times?
2 times, not 1 time. 2
Why?
times,
Why did you put that stamp?
Their fury aimed at an insurance company they say had a role in hastening Nataline's death.
Nataline was another file. They just shred.
Nataline was first diagnosed with leukemia at 14.
She started having headaches. She started losing weight.
Rounds of chemotherapy followed, and when the chemo didn't work, Nataline's doctor suggested a more aggressive therapy, a bone marrow transplant. All of it was paid for by Cigna and the insurance policy purchased through her father's job. A bone marrow transplant alone can cost as much as $700,000. But after the procedure, a complication. Nataline's liver was failing. Her medical team at UCLA said an emergency organ transplant was her only hope.
The doctors are telling you that your daughter needs a liver transplant. We have a liver, we don't have clearance.
Cigna denied the transplant, which would have cost $500,000 or more. The company had hired 2 doctors who determined that the procedure would be ineffective and unproven in Nataline's case. Nataline's doctor said a new liver had a 65% chance of extending her life by many months, time they could use to keep fighting her leukemia. But the Sarkisians were finding out that insurance companies don't usually cover medical treatments that are considered unconventional or unproven.
There will always be denials, and I'm going to say something very controversial. Denials are okay. It's a mechanism to keep the insurance and the consumer in check. The problem with the denial is healthcare is not always black and white.
To a family facing the loss of a daughter, it seemed there was only one right answer. They appealed while precious days passed, then more than 2 weeks.
They just said, it's experimental. We're not going to approve it. Sorry.
But Nataline's mother wasn't taking no for an answer. The family took their case public, calling the local media and staging a rally outside Cigna's Glendale, California offices.
The reason I'm here today is to fight the insurance company Cigna for denial of my daughter's coverage for the liver transplant. I need my daughter back. Cigna is wrong.
No more denials! No more denials!
Joining the fight was the California Nurses Association, a labor and lobbying group that took up Nataline's cause.
We came with our banners and we had placards and we had signs. We ended up occupying the lobby of Cigna headquarters.
The family's pressure tactics, it seemed, were working.
It got the attention at the highest levels of the corporation.
Few were in a better position to know what was going on inside Cigna's executive suites than Wendell Potter. At the time, he was the company's chief corporate spokesman, and this was a PR nightmare.
One of the most difficult that I'd ever dealt with.
No more denials!
While the family was protesting, Cigna had a change of heart. The company agreed to pay for the transplant as a compassionate exception.
She came and whispered in my ear, Hilda, they just reversed their decision. Nataline's going to get her liver.
Cigna just approved us.
I was so excited, I was screaming.
But the struggle was far from over. Nataline's condition was deteriorating. The family left Cigna and rushed to the hospital. Even though the transplant had now been approved, it was too late. Nataline died just hours later.
If something had happened to her after the liver transplant, you would say, it's not meant to be. Okay, we tried our best. But no, they did not give us a chance.
Nataline's death was a turning point in the life of Cigna executive Wendell Potter.
It was devastating for me. I can remember when I heard the news just closing the door and just wanting to be alone for a while.
3 weeks after Nataline's death, Potter decided to leave his job, no longer able to defend an industry that he says puts profits before patients.
I felt that as I was climbing the corporate ladder, that I, somewhere along the line, misplaced my moral compass. It's the profit motive that really drives these companies.
Potter is now a whistleblower of sorts, calling for insurance reform throughout the national healthcare debate.
The imbalance will just continue to grow.
He has taken his message to the media and to lawmakers in Washington.
There is such power concentrated in the hands of now 7 very large for-profit insurance companies.
He says the lesson from Nataline's case is that insurance is a business like any other, with companies beholden to shareholders. When it comes to expensive treatment decisions, he says, insurers have an undeniable conflict of interest.
Often there is a corporate bureaucrat who stands between a patient and his or her doctor, making decisions.
Potter says investors keep close tabs on the profit margins at insurance companies. In fact, in Wall Street jargon, money spent on patient care is called a loss.
The medical loss ratio is a measure of how much of every premium dollar that these companies lose paying medical claims.
Cigna said in a statement to Dateline that it makes all coverage determinations on the basis of the best available medical evidence, regardless of cost. The company points out that in Nataline's case, it was acting as an administrator for Mr. Sarkisian's employer, and that the employer would ultimately pay for the medical costs. Cigna says it had no financial stake in the coverage decision. But Potter says the contracts between employers and insurers often contain incentives for keeping the cost of claims low. We asked Cigna if it had any such financial incentives and requested details about its agreement with Mr. Sarkisian's employer, but the company declined to comment.
There's not a benefit to a health insurer in denying claims that should be paid.
The Health Insurance Industry Trade Group says that nearly 98% of the time, claims are paid quickly, and that's good for the bottom line.
For one thing, claims payment is highly regulated. For another thing, employers have choices. They can take their business from insurer A to insurer B. Our companies really compete like mad.
Now the Sarkisians are determined not to let Nataline's story fade away. They're taking up the cause of reform in her name.
I love you. We're going to fight for you.